Madera companies, welcome back to another episode of Touch Base, our companies podcast, and it's definitely more than one because we've been kind of making our way around the different companies over the last few episodes and learning about how everybody works together, and that's kind of been the focus of this season is seeing this value of community at work, not just amongst different departments, but also across companies. And so I'm excited today to get to welcome in several of the leaders of the Rockwood Multifamily company that we get to have and get to work with, and they do some great work, and I'm excited for you guys to get to hear some of the nuances and the ins and outs of the things that they're doing. And so with that said, I'm going to kind of turn around here and we'll jump in and start to have a conversation. I want to do some quick bio work and just let them know, for those who may not know who you are. Jeff, I'm going to start with you. One, just because, you know, senior statesman, we're gonna honor our elders here.
You honor the elders always. That's correct. Never forget that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So why don't you give us a little bit of a quick bio? Tell us a little bit about your industry experience and Madera and Rockwood and whatever.
So, for me, I started out in this industry as a porter and mowed yards during the summer, during the days, and cleaned apartments at night. And I've had the great fortune of growing up in this industry. Started in it after I got out of the Army, and so I've been able to be a maintenance technician, maintenance supervisor, a building manager. I've been able to move into executive roles, property supervisor, VP, president roles, and so been really blessed in this industry. And so I'll give you a little hint about my age. I started in business in '79. Okay. So I've been in and around this business since then. I've taken a couple of detours. I did a real estate appraisal. I got my real estate broker license in 1992. Mm-hmm. So I've been in the real estate related industry since then. So yeah. It's been a great career, and didn't choose it. It chose me. But that happens with a lot of us. It chooses us. So anyway, I've been around the block, so to speak. Yeah. And so here we are today. Been with Madera Residential / Rockwood now for 11 years, mm-hmm. and have had different roles: president, COO of Madera, and now the latest journey is the Chief Operating Officer for Rockwood Multifamily that we began just a little over 2 years ago. Yeah. It's been a very interesting ride. The fee management world today is not like I knew back in the 80s and 90s. It's different now in many ways, and we can talk about that more later.
Yeah, I definitely want to explore that because the nuances of your industry we get into sometimes, and a lot of times with Madera Residential, but there's this whole new element when it comes to fee management. Yeah. And I definitely want us to talk about that.
Especially these days and times. But
Angela, let's talk about you for just a second. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know you have a lengthy history with Madera.
Yes, I do. I started in this industry by chance as well. I was going to college. It's like 83, I think, and at the community that I lived at, the manager just took me in like I was one of her own, and so I took on the housekeeping on a part-time basis. I'd clean apartments after class on weekends, and then from there she hired me to do weekend leasing, and then it became every time she would take a vacation, I'd take over the office on when I was out of school, and I don't know, one thing led to another, and the next thing you know, I was moved into a full-time leasing, and then from there went to assistant, and property got sold. So I became the manager, and I've never looked back. It has been the most fulfilling journey I have ever been on. I always say the one thing I've raised children in this industry. I've had, a full life of outside of this industry, but the one thing I fall back on is the camaraderie between the people that you meet. You become family with them. Yeah. And the growth on a personal level, has been the most enjoyable part of my life. So I do it because I love it and I get paid to do it. So
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, that's fun.
What
That's fun.
else can you ever do that could top that?
Yeah, and you've been in Houston the whole time, is that correct?
I've been in Houston the entire time. Funny enough, I started back in the 80s when there was mostly fee managed. Very few owners managed their own products. So the companies I work for are very large, very good. I'm very fortunate to work for some of the best people in the industry, but they were all fee managed. So that's how I kind of grew up in the industry and understanding, that third party management. When I found Madera, or Madera found me about a little over 9 years ago, it was really the first time I've worked for an owner managed, and their core values were just exactly on the same level that I've never changed who I was during all of these years. Although you work for different people and you work for different expectations, that core value stayed the same. And that's why I think I've been so successful in everything that I've maneuvered through my career, because of those core values. And then I get lucky enough to find Madera, and that is their core value. So it was just being able to do with the support of the ownership to continue that on a daily basis.
Yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out, because I think that's always a big part of finding your way, is when you can merge, vocation with values and having those things come together. Christie, tell us a little bit about you and your stuff here.
Okay, well, I've been in the industry for a while, 25 plus years. I started out a part-time leasing agent on the weekends and gradually worked my way up, assistant property manager. Been with Madera, I'm on my 12th year now. Started out as a property manager with them, worked my way up to an area manager, and now I am with Rockwood as the director of operations in DFW.
Yeah.
And it has been a ride, and I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot from it. Getting to collaborate, with Houston Group, with Jeff, with people in Lubbock, it's just been a real joy just to have that camaraderie with everybody. It's been a blessing.
Well, cool. Let's jump into this whole fee management thing and all the different stuff that you guys are doing. Let's just kind of start with property operations, just in general. But what are some of the great things that you get to do on property, and then what are some of the challenges that you guys see specific to property operations? But give us a little bit of that fee management slant so that we kind of understand the difference between the two.
Well, let me jump in. So we started this venture a couple of years ago. The partner did, brought in a fifth partner, Brad Sumrock. And so a lot of the focus was his clients, his students, as he calls them, who are investors. And so that was really the basis for beginning the Rockwood Multifamily. And by doing that, we've encountered lots of great people who are investing in multifamily real estate, and all of them have their own. Well, they have their own personality.
Sure.
They have their own business goals, and they have different styles, different ways of approaching that. So immediately, being the third-party manager, we all are constantly flexing and shifting because everyone is different.
Yeah.
Every property is different. So these wonderful ladies help steer that at the site level and in the region level, because I'm here, but they're out there interacting with our staff in order to help our staff understand. So this is not always going to be the way Madera would respond to something, even though we like the way we do things at Madera. But there's a lot of nuances that call for us to be flexible, creative, spontaneous, and and firm.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest nuances, I think.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a great thing because when we take over another property, when it has the name Madera Residential on it, there's kind of a certain understanding of like how we're going to do things, and we flex, to use your word. We'll flex because every property is different, right? We have different personalities that has different needs, different things like that. But there's still kind of and we even use this language. There's like a Madera way about it, right, with how we do things. But that is the interesting piece where you guys are building partnerships with other owners, and they may have a different way. Yeah. Let's talk about that for just a second. How do you navigate those different values or even just worldviews on how a property should work? How do you do that?
Well, I think that the reason they want us there is because of what you just said. That's the bottom line. I think what's difficult at times is them letting go of that control so that we can do what we do best, right? And I think what we tend to do, Christie, myself, and Jeff, on basically a daily basis, is that we're constantly reminding them, you're in good hands.
Yeah.
We got this. Because as we all know, in this industry, there's going to be peaks and valleys.
Sure.
But we're going to withstand the storm. Okay.
Yeah.
We've got, and this is the reason you want us here. So I think the challenge sometimes is just reminding them, and we take on that responsibility and that role because we don't want our teams affected by that. So 90% of all the questions, all the concerns are going to be directed to us, and we're on the back scenes taking care of it for them so that the team can do what they're doing. And it runs just as smooth on operations on any Rockwood as it does Madera property.
Yeah, and you bring up something I think is really important, and you guys bring something, let me say it this way, you bring something to the table that I think is really important, is that all three of you were successful with Madera. And so as other property owners see, it's like they don't just work for Madera Residential. They were successful with Madera Residential, and now they're coming over to help us do this. And so, you're not just walking in as with the name tag that says Madera. Right. You're walking in with like, no, we helped build Madera too, and that's why you can trust us with the property. But how do you even get partnered up with some of these people? Like, what does that look like? How do you even?
Well, a lot of it's referral.
Okay.
I mean, that's typically the way fee management comes about, is a referral. Okay. So we've had referrals to us, and then the investor climate. Charles Young with Madera has been one of their principal presenters at some of their meetings. So that was a big segue for all this to come about, and Dave Martinkowski has, and I've attended some of their meetings. So, and Christie has. So we are referred. It's a referral business, or it's just contacting someone, and they might not be the one, but they may put you in contact with somebody else. So it just goes down like that. And we've had some attrition this year. We need to talk about how, even though in the perfect fee managed world everything goes just like the pro forma was written. Until the turbulent economic times that started hitting us mid-year last year and still occurring has changed all the dynamics. The dynamics.
Yeah, and you mentioned Charlie, and then also just the pro forma. Like I've heard Charlie say it multiple times now. Like every time you write a pro forma, the minute that it's done, it's wrong.
It's wrong. It's outdated. Right. It's outdated.
Yeah. Now, okay. So when you get into these partnerships, and anybody can jump in here, what are you looking for in the partnership that will make it work? Because clearly we want to make money. We're a for-profit business, but at the same time, fit matters, right? Like we're looking for a good fit. And so what are you looking for?
Well, you don't always get to see it just because you're looking for it.
Sure.
Okay, you have to sometimes experience it as you go along. But we're going to, and these ladies need to expand on this, but we're going to hold the line on our core values that we talked about, Christ, community, and connive. We're going to hold that line. That's us, not compromised at all. And we want our clients to recognize that, appreciate it, and buy into it. And that will set the stage for being able to resolve differences or overcome barriers or get through the hard times.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
y'all
Yeah.
expect.
What are you guys thinking?
Well, I think that if they come to us, like Jeff said, through referral, because they know we're successful and they want what we're doing for them because they want to be successful, but they have to be willing to not put the noose around our neck and hold us under. We have to be able to operate. And like Jeff said, I don't think that sometimes that's very noticeable in the very beginning until, it's
Right.
there. But that we have to have that ability to be able to make decisions. And I think the biggest thing that comes to mind for me is that we want them to visit their properties. They own it. We want them to be proud of that and go visit. But we want them also to be cautious of that line of communication in a way of directing our teams, because that just creates confusion. And that's why I think that we're where we are, and there's this line of communication that's established from the beginning, and we just have to hope that they adhere to that on a daily.
Yeah. There has to be, I think, some level of trust there that we are proven performers. Our company as a whole is proven performers. So there has to be that trust there. Like, you're handing us your property and we understand we're going to, answer to you. We're going to give you that information that you're needing. But you have to let us be able to do our jobs and, just know that we're in it to win it with you.
Yeah, so let's talk about the information piece, and because I think that's another one too, right? What information are they typically wanting from you guys in order to put their minds to ease, to kind of ease that, like, okay, I gave you my property, so here's this information exchange. What are they wanting from you?
They want it all.
Oh, yes. They want to know everything. They want to know who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Yeah.
I mean, it changes, I think, day to day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have peaks and valleys in this industry. Always have, always will. It's real estate. But I think that when there's not touching it like we are on a daily, the element that they're missing out on is that constant involvement and engagement on operations. And so what may look like a miss is really not. So we'll be getting an email as to, why was this number not hit? Well, here's what's happening, and it's going to this is where we're going to be, 60 days or 90 days. So I think those are the majority of the kind of questions we get. I think we're prepared in terms of we communicate based on performance. Here's budgets. They're very involved in approving everything. But I think it's just those little peaks and valleys, or there might be a better word for it than that, but
Well, and we've had to we learned really quickly, I think, that we've had to put processes in place to give them information. So hence the creation of the Monday report, which Rockwood birthed that, and now it's actually used on the Madera side as well. So, but that's just to give them, quick access to information so they know where the property's performing week over week, because that's completed every Monday. I also learned I have to train our clients on how to use our property management software. So when we bring on a new client, I get with them and I have a separate call with them, and we're just going through NewCo, and I'm showing them how to navigate it, but then also training them on the Google Drive where they can find certain reports at, where they can even find the Monday report, and how to navigate that, because they're not familiar. A lot of clients are not familiar with that.
Well, and every company is going to do it a little bit differently, and so there's going to be, I'm sure on their part, there's still a little bit of anxiety that kind of comes in for them because they're learning new platforms and new ways of receiving information from you guys. Let's explore kind of that when we take over a property. Like, let's explore that a little bit more, because I think from a Madera residential perspective, we've done our due diligence. We take over a property, we immediately begin to kind of implement the Madera way. But the takeover for a Rockwood property is probably very different, and so I'd love to hear more about not just the training them on software, but what else are you doing?
Yeah, so we're not taking this from A to Z like a Madera due diligence process and getting ready to acquire the asset. We may get 30 days notice that they're changing management companies or that they are buying the property. And so we may get a little due diligence time, we may get a little file audit time, but we don't have a lot of in-depth knowledge about the asset. It's coming pretty quick.
Yeah.
So they're doing it. These ladies are doing it.
There is no acquisitions and disposition departments within Rockwood. We are the acquisitions. We are the disposition.
We are the department.
So we are the ones getting the information directly from the brokers if it's a purchase or a sale. Either way, we're the ones communicating with those brokers. What information do they need to make the deal happen?
Yeah.
And then we're also having to communicate those needs to the various departments, to on-site.
Right.
I think the on-site process of taking over a property is it's similar to what we do with Madera.
Yeah.
Go in, deliver notices that we're taking over, new management, changing the locks and those things. I think it's the behind the scenes that is really, really different.
Well, we had to develop our own checklist
Yes.
to get
I
the right
remember
information.
I have to set up a bank account. I don't know how to do that. Who do I call for help?
Yes.
Oh, and now I need a rental account set up. What do I do? Do I ask the owner for that much money? And so I think for us, it was stepping outside of a comfort zone, actually, in the beginning. But you know what? I'm really proud of where we are 2 years later, because we're a new company growing, just like some of our other, partners with us. And it takes all of these things to be successful. So, yeah, it's a little, I think that what you're saying is 100% correct. When we take over a property, though, on operational side, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Every single part of our staffing on site, everything we put into place, every platform, every procedure, there's absolutely no difference. It runs equal.